So much for joining me tonight. My name is Mrs. Warren, and I am the College and Career Readiness Advisor at Dulles High School. And tonight we are going to be speaking on paying for college, our most favorite topic. It is a big deal this year, especially because the FAFSA is a graduation requirement. So I want to ensure that all of our parents and students do have the required and necessary information that you might need to be successful when completing the FAFSA or other forms of paying for education. So the chat is open for you all. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to type them in the chat box. I do ask, we are going to try to keep this session to around 30 minutes. So if I do not get to your questions, please just make sure that you put them in the chat box or email me, and I would be happy to respond to any questions you might have. And I'll be sure to give you my email address at the end of this presentation. If we could go ahead, if I could just ask one person, I know there might be a ton, but if you could just in the chat box give me a thumbs up that you can hear me and that you can see my PowerPoint, because it is just me as a presenter on this meeting tonight, and I want to make sure that my presentation is seen and that I'm being heard. Okay, awesome. I see a thumbs up. I appreciate that. So then I'm just going to go ahead and keep pushing forward. Okay, so quickly, I am recording this like I stated earlier, so I will share this in my Friday senior email tomorrow morning. I also will be sure to share a PDF version of the PowerPoint for those who would like to access at a different time. So let's go ahead and get started. So today we are going to be discussing the cost of college. We'll quickly speak on FAFSA. I do have a separate presentation that discusses FAFSA in more detail, and I'll show you how to access that recording as well. But with FAFSA, we'll talk about student loans, the Parent Plus loan, grants. We will also talk about and sorry guys, I am trying to admit guest as well. So if I do take a brief pause, it just means that I am trying to admit guest as I'm presenting. But anyways, along with the FAFSA, we will also talk quickly about the TASFA, as well as the CSS profile, scholarships, academic and merit, and need-based, and some other scholarships that students can receive, private student loans, and we will discuss financial aid packages and when students will receive those. So the cost of college, this is it can be the hardest subject sometimes when talking to students because, my first question is always, how are you planning to pay for college? And a lot of times students don't know how they're going to pay for college. And I always encourage them to have that discussion with you all, first and foremost, with their parents, to understand that college is expensive and that before you, commit to attending, we need to make sure that we can afford it. So we are, sorry, I'm trying to admit people, but in order to plan for your future, we need to start estimating how much you will be expected to pay to attend your 2 or 4 year college or university. So what I encourage students to do and parents is sit down, and the first step would just be to go onto the college website. Every college website has their own scholarship and financial aid page. There you can access their tuition. So you can see there's actually probably a little calculator on the website where you can calculate how much each credit hour will cost. And that is kind of the first step. I've also provided you some resources. There's a net price calculator, and then there's the College for All Texans website, actually has a list of the tuition cost for all of the colleges. Again, I am going to send this presentation out so you can access these links. These are also on my website as well. But again, this is the first step, just determining how much it's going to cost to attend that university. It does vary. I do encourage students, especially those who are of significant financial need, to first look at those public universities. Those are going to be the most cost efficient. So yes, looking at those public is going to be your first step. After that, you'll have private. Keep in mind that private colleges tend to offer more scholarship and scholarship money at first, but it does kind of all equal out. You know, you'll get all this scholarship money and realize that it actually is the same cost as, you know, going to a public university. So it's always, that is the first step to anything. With that, you can also, if you're planning on using the FAFSA, you can also use an estimated tool for student aid. So this will tell you how much you might receive from financial aid, so whether that's grants or student loans. And additionally, it might also provide you some information with the out of cost that you might be paying for that school. Okay, so that's the first step. I'm going to go ahead and move on to speak quickly about the FAFSA. As a reminder, we do have an entire presentation discussing the FAFSA, and I will show you how to access that presentation at the end of this video. So quickly, the free application for federal student aid. This is accessible for all U.S. citizens and permanent residents. So students must have a social security number or a permanent residence number, or known as a green card number, in order to complete the FAFSA. Okay, the FAFSA is used to determine grants, student loans, and potentially additional scholarship money from institutionals. The student will need to complete the FAFSA each year that they are in college. So every single year in October, they will complete the FAFSA with you. Okay, so just note that each year might look a little bit differently in how much award that you will receive. When completing the FAFSA, I encourage parents to use the you're going to need your 2020 tax information specifically this year, and I encourage parents to use the IRS retrieval tool. I actually sat in my office last week and worked on the FAFSA with a student and was able to complete it in about 20 minutes. We were able to utilize the IRS retrieval tool. You will just need, a parent will need their FSA ID, social security number, and date of birth in order to connect that. You will need an FSA ID for the student and one parent. Only one parent needs to submit or needs to have an FSA ID number to sign the student's FAFSA. Okay, so yes, you will need to include both parents, you know, tax information, you know, whoever the child is a dependent on, that tax information, but only one parent will actually need to sign their FAFSA. Keep in mind that your FSA ID number might have been used from when you went to college and you had financial aid. So when it comes time for me to sign my child's FAFSA information, I will have used my FSA ID from years ago. So just note that you might have to retrieve that information. Okay, so the next thing, like I was stated earlier, students will complete the application on their FSA ID account. Okay, so they're going to sign in to their FSA ID or their FAFSA account, and they'll complete the 2022-2023 FAFSA under their account. There will be a parent portion, and at that time, the parent will provide some information. You'll do the IRS retrieval tool, and then the parent will be able to sign the FAFSA at the end. This is a graduation requirement this year. It is a state of Texas rule. It is not an FBISD rule. It's not a Dulles High School rule. It is a state of Texas through House Bill 3 that all students must complete the FAFSA or the TASFA. I will talk about an opt-out form in just a little bit. The priority deadline to complete the FAFSA is January 15th. You might have also heard the deadline of December 1st. The December 1st is a deadline for me and our Dulles High School registrar to complete the graduation requirement for students. Students can continue to complete the FAFSA, and I'll explain that in just a little bit when I talk about the opt-out form, but we are hoping that all students will have completed the FAFSA or the TASFA by December 1st. And then below is the website to access the FAFSA. So the TASFA is the Texas Application for State Financial Aid. This is for Texas residents who are non-U.S. citizens. Okay, these are students who do not have social security numbers. Okay, these might also be students on visas. Okay, so no Social Security or green card. You will never complete both the FAFSA and the TASFA. You will only complete one or the other based off your residency. Now, if you're planning to use the TASFA, you will have to plan to attend a college in Texas. Okay, so this is only for Texas financial aid. So if your student is not a U.S. citizen and plans to attend a school outside of Texas, they will not be able to use the TASFA for that school. The TASFA is old school. It is a paper application. Some colleges, like Texas A&M, I know, has an online application that they can submit through the Texas A&M AIS portal, which is the student portal after a student applies to that college. But they do have to submit the TASFA to each individual school. Unlike the FAFSA, you actually indicate up to 10 schools that you would like the FAFSA to automatically be sent to. And I forgot to mention this earlier, but students can apply for FAFSA and TASFA without having submitted a college application. So go ahead and start the FAFSA. You do not have to wait to submit your applications before you begin this process. Like I said, it must be printed and submitted to each financial aid office that the student is planning to apply to. Again, the priority deadline for the TASFA and FAFSA is January 15th. You can access the application through this webpage, and again, at the end of this presentation, I will show you how to access everything. The next is the CSS profile. Okay, I'm just going to talk briefly about this because we honestly will not have many students completing this. So this is an online application used by colleges and scholarship programs to award institutional aid. So this is their own financial aid through the college. Okay, this is for private colleges only. Okay, this is going to be completed through, it's actually through College Board. You do have to pay to complete the CSS profile. Unlike the FAFSA is always free, but the CSS profile does have a fee. If your student has a fee waiver from free and reduced lunch, it will be free. But other than that, you will have to pay to complete it. And if it is a private college, so whether that's in-state or out-of-state, the college will require them to complete a CSS profile. It is so important that you do complete a CSS profile if you are choosing to go to a private school. The reason I say that is, like I mentioned earlier, private schools are significantly more expensive, but that also means that they have significant more aid to provide to students. So Texas colleges that do require the CSS profile is Rice, TCU, Baylor, Trinity, and SMU. Okay, and again, if you have any questions about the CSS profile, please do not hesitate to reach out. Okay, so this is exciting. So colleges offering free tuition. Yes, I said free. Now there is one caveat. You do have to be of significant financial need. I do have this chart on my website, and again, I'll show you this at the end of my presentation. But this is a wonderful opportunities for our students who do have significant financial needs. So it's typically, it is completed by the FAFSA. You must submit a FAFSA in order to qualify for this free tuition. But for families who typically make anywhere under $65,000, some are as low as $25,000, you can qualify for free tuition. Now, this does not cover the cost of like room and board, but it will cover the entire cost of your tuition. And this is not a separate application. It's all through the FAFSA. So once you complete the FAFSA and one of these schools has a program, so for example, University of Houston has the Cougar Promise. I believe there is $65,000 and below, but once you do the FAFSA and they see your EFC number, your estimated family contribution, they will be able to determine how much aid you'll get, and then they'll be able to offer you that free tuition. Okay, so within the FAFSA, there's a couple different things. There's the, you have grants, you have student loans, and you have scholarships. So now I'm going to go talk about each of those. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is federal Pell Grants. So this is awarded to all undergraduate students with exceptional financial need. So this will also be kind of included in that free tuition program that colleges offer. Okay, so this is free money that students do not have to pay back. You always, always, always accept this money. Okay, it is so important that students accept this money first. Okay, there is a calculator on the FAFSA website to determine how much aid you will receive. And I also have this chart. It's kind of a small picture, but I have this chart on my website as well, so you can access this. But based off your estimated family contribution, this is your EFC number. You're going to hear this a lot, but your EFC number determines how much Pell Grant you will receive. The lower that number, so if that number is 00000, that means that your family is expected to pay $0. Okay, and the lower that number is, the more Pell Grant money you will receive. Again, this is all based off of parent income. Okay. Excuse me. It's also based off of the cost of attendance of the school, so how much the school costs to attend, their tuition, so versus a community college versus a four-year college. And then also it's determined based off if a student is a full-time or a part-time student. Keep in mind that if your student is planning to go to college at a four-year university, I encourage them to be a full-time student. A full-time student is 12 credit hours, so that's 4 classes. That is very doable for students. Okay, so typically students will take 15 credit hours, which is 5 classes. But in order to be a full-time, you need to at least be taking those 12 credit hours, and that will also help colleges determine how much aid you will get. So the next thing is federal student loans. Now, student loans get such a bad rep, and I kind of told my personal story in a previous presentation. If you're interested, I'd be happy to tell you. I'm an open book. I'd be happy to tell you that personal story. But student loans are not always a bad thing. And so the great thing about federal student loans from FAFSA is that they are low interest rate loans. They have great payback plans, and you do get a 6-month grace period after the student graduates. Okay, so if your student really wants to go to college and the career that they're planning to pursue requires a college degree, student loans are not always a bad thing. Now, I do encourage students and parents only to take out what they need. Whatever you don't need, you'll have to get a job. So again, I'd be happy to tell you my story if you want to hear that. Just a little overview. It's just a success when it comes to student loans. So, but what types of federal loans are available? So the U.S. Department of Education, basically they have 4 student loan types. So you have your direct subsidized, your direct unsubsidized, your direct plus loans, which are parent plus loans, and then your consolidation loans. So these are a little bit differently, and you can view these hyperlinks to get a little bit more information about each of these different loans, but you might see these on your financial aid package when you receive that. Now, keep in mind, only take what you need. Only take what you need. I did see somebody that said, can I hear your story? Just really quickly, I came from a very low income family. My mom, was a single mom of 3 kids, made $18,000 a year, and I was the only child that went to college. I was extremely determined. And so I did it all by myself. I was able to get a significant amount of grant money that did help pay for college. But with that, I did take student loans out. I actually graduated with about $55,000 in student loans. And over the last 8 years, I was able to pay off almost all of that student debt. Now, it took a lot of grit, and I wasn't able to do a lot of fun things that my friends did, but I bought a brand new car, paid my brand new car off. I bought a house with my husband, so it is very doable. You can still live an amazing life and paying off student loans. You just have to be diligent with your payback plan. And I always tell students to be very smart about your payback plan if you are planning to take student loans out. Okay, so Work Study, this is an amazing program as well. So Federal Work Study provides part-time jobs for undergraduate students. These are typically on-campus jobs, but they can be off-campus as well. You can indicate that you're interested on your FAFSA application. I encourage all students to click yes to this. This is a job provided by the college that you are attending and is untaxed income. This can be used for anything. Some students think that it goes straight to your tuition, but no, it goes straight to your bank. So you can use this for a living, or you can use it to help pay for tuition. So private student loans, this is where things get a little tricky. So private loans can provide additional services to students and parents who need that aid to send their child to school. I would, of course, first exhaust all federal student loan opportunities. I also encourage you to exhaust this. It's not on this PowerPoint, but reach out to the financial aid office. If you cannot afford to go to that college, reach out to them. See what other scholarship opportunities they have. See what work-study programs they have. There is so many opportunities. Colleges have so much money to give. So please, before private loans, exhaust all opportunities. So if you are going to take out an additional loan from like an outside student loan, I really suggest the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board. They have the College Access Loan, which is the HH loans. I took out an HH loan my first year of college. So my freshman year, I did not receive enough aid, so I had to take out $5,000. This was the first loan that I paid off in full because it does have the higher interest rate. So if you are planning to take out a private loan, please make sure that you are paying these off first after graduation. So these should be your first hit whenever you pay those off. Okay, but you can also click on you can click on this later, but the Sally Mae loan opportunity and then the private bank loans offer student loans as well. Okay, so the best thing is scholarship money. Again, just like grants, this is free money. You do not have to pay back. You can apply all 4 years while the student is in college. This is not just for freshman year. You can apply for academic. You can get on the president's list, the dean's list, depending on how well you do in your classes. You can get scholarship opportunities, okay? Ways to search for scholarships. So number one is you need to go to your college or university that you're applying to and see what type of merit and need-based scholarships they have. Like I said earlier, they have tons of money to give, so make sure you're accessing that first. Number two, students can access scholarships through Naviance. They did in their advisory period this week. They should have watched a video on how to search for scholarships, and I'll make sure I show you where to access that information. But yes, Naviance can be used. There's also a great website that Forpin ISD pays for. It is an expensive website, and so I encourage your students to please use this website so we can continue to have access to it for years and years. There is a username and password that students have to use. It's very simple. It's just FBISD-student. That is the username and password. This is on my website, so make sure you access that as well. And then lastly, I do receive scholarships directly to me, whether they are Dulles High School specific, Fort Bend specific, Houston specific, whatever it might be. I do get those and I put them all on an Excel spreadsheet, and I email students about them. Now, parents cannot access the Excel spreadsheet. It is only available for students because you must log in to access this with your student email address and password. So just keep that in mind. I did see a question that said, where's this website? You can access this again. There's a link right here. It's the College Guidance Consultants website. And I can also, again, at the end, show you where all this information is. Okay, we're coming up to the end. So that means that we're going to talk about your financial aid package. So this is your total amount of financial aid, federal and non-federal, that a student will receive from a college. Now, this will only be accessible to a student after they have been accepted to a college. So you cannot look to receive a financial aid package until after you've applied and you've been accepted. Okay, you can access all this information through your student portal. So if you did not know, or if you're a parent, your student will receive a student portal for every college that they are applying to. So for example, UT has their My Status portal. So on the My Status portal, a student will be able to access their financial aid package from there. You will also be able to accept or deny any financial aid through that website. Now, please do not accept or deny any financial aid until you have decided to go to that school or not. Okay, so please make sure that you're talking to the financial aid office, and really, once you start getting those acceptance in and you start getting your financial aid packages, sit down with your parents or sit down with your child and start making a plan. Okay, so this is sometimes called a financial aid package. It can also be called your award package, but this is going to include all your federal, state, excuse me, hold on one second. So it's going to include all your federal, state, private, and any school-sourced money. So that's scholarship money. And then at the end of it, it will include the total cost to attend. Now, this is an estimated cost because this, again, will include, they're going to estimate the most money. So it's going to include your, it's going to include the cost, your tuition. It's going to include your living expenses, your travel expenses, but you might not spend $2,000 on driving, you know, so just keep that in mind that they're going to estimate the most. So just really sit down and do that math on your own of really how much it's going to cost to, if you're living in a dorm, how much that's going to cost, and then of course the tuition. Okay, so lastly, I do want to talk quickly about the FAFSA, TASFA, and opt-out form. So as I stated earlier, Texas is requiring to complete the FAFSA, TASFA, or an opt-out form for graduation. So if your child wants to walk across the stage, they must complete this requirement before graduating. So you would either complete the FAFSA if you are a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident. You would complete the TASFA if you are a non-U.S. citizen or if you're on a visa. Or if you don't want to do any of this, you can complete an opt-out form. That is totally up to you. I really could care less, to be honest. That is your prerogative. I want your student to graduate, so I just want either, of the three to be completed by December 1st. So the student must complete an online submission to be approved for the graduation requirement. So it's an Office 365 form. They will upload proof of their submission to this online office form. It's on my website. I've emailed it out. Your student can email me, come see me. Also, they are going to spend the entire week with me next week in the College Center, and I will help them complete the graduation requirement, help them answer any questions about FAFSA and TASFA or the opt-out form. Okay, and lastly, my contact information. So do you have any questions? The first thing, reach out to your financial aid offices. So please make sure that you're reaching out to those offices. Once you have a list of colleges you are planning to attend or you've been accepted to, reach out to those financial aid office. With that said, make sure you're always asking for more. Okay, it can't hurt. The only thing they can say is no. Definitely always ask. Please visit the Dulles High School College and Career Readiness website. I can't tell you how much I post on there, how up to date I try to keep it for you all so you have this information anytime that you need it. Contact me. My name is Kaylee Warren. I am pretty, try to email me. That's the best method of getting in contact with me, but just keep in mind, just be patient with me. I do have 2,400 students and it's just me. So I'm not like a counseling team. I'm my own team. So just be patient with me. I really do try to respond to emails. My phone, I'm not in my office a lot. So if you call my office, just make sure you leave a message. But again, I just encourage you to email me with any questions. Okay, so before I do move on to questions, I did want to go ahead and show y'all the Dulles High School webpage so you guys can see all the resources that I'm talking about. So just give me 1 second while I share that. Okay, so this is the Dulles High School webpage. You can get there by, of course, just navigating to Dulles High School, clicking on students and parents, and then scrolling down and clicking on college and career readiness. Okay, so all of the information that I'm talking about today can be accessed through the FAFSA and scholarship page. So if you click right here, you'll see FAFSA, TASFA, CSS profiles, scholarships, the colleges offering free tuition, and how much does college cost. So first we'll click on TASFA. So here is the presentation that talks more in depth about the FAFSA. This was the FBISD FAFSA night that was recorded a couple weeks ago. This is a financial aid quick guide that you guys can access. And then I have all of these links for you to check out. You can click down for more. And so this was just the Pell Grant information that I was talking about in the presentation. Student loan calculators, just some great resources for you guys to access. With that, I also have the opt-out, or I'm sorry, the completion form right here. So students can complete this form. They will be required to submit documentation of completion, so make sure that they're completing that correctly. You can also access the opt-out form on this website. And then, of course, the FAFSA TASFA opt-out form submission can be accessed on here as well. If you scroll down, you'll also find the 2022-2023 FAFSA line-by-line live demonstration. This is a great tool for those parents who are doing the FAFSA for the first time. So then I'm going to navigate to TASFA. This is pretty easy website, but it does include the FAFSA application. CSS profile gives you an overview of the CSS profile and then also a checklist for that. And then this is the best page. This is my scholarship page. So this is the Excel spreadsheet that I was talking about earlier. Here is the College Guidance Consultant's website and with the password. Here is the video that I was talking about earlier with how to search for scholarships. Here is a infographic of all of the Texas colleges and the scholarships that they offer. And then if you scroll down, here's some additional great resources for scholarships. And then if you scroll all the way down, some large scholarship opportunities for students to look into. So this is a great website to access any scholarships. And then, of course, if you click on FAFSA link itself, you can actually access the colleges offering free tuition chart. So like I stated earlier, there are some colleges that are offering free tuition based off of family income. So you can look through here and see if you qualify for that. So like I gave University of Houston as an example earlier, this is the Cougar Promise. So the family income, I said 65, I'm sorry, correction, it's 50,000 or less, and you would qualify for the Cougar Promise. Now that is total family income, so mom and dad. And I'm probably going to get the question of, you know, what if my parents are divorced? And it would be the parent who claims you on your taxes. So like I stated earlier with my story, I do have a dad still, but I was on my mom's, my mom's taxes. So I was able to get that significant Pell Grant money. So if there is a divorce, it's whoever, the student lives with, whoever the parent claims on, whoever the student is claimed on the taxes. So when the student's a dependent. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor for questions. I'll answer questions until 6:45. I do want to respect your time and honestly my time. So I'll go ahead. I do have some questions. So it says if a student intends to go to, hold on one second, let me just continue to admit some people really quick. Okay, so for my folks who just joined, this session it's almost over. I'm just answering questions right now, but if you do, this presentation again is going to be recorded and sent out to all students. So if the student intends to go to community college, do we still fill the FAFSA? Yes, please do fill out the FAFSA. You can get financial aid for attending a community college. It's for all 2- and 4-year colleges. So you can receive Pell Grant money and student loan money to attend a community college. When do students have to apply for financial aid? If they are a junior. So if you're a junior, you will not apply until October 2022. So you will apply during your senior year, but it will be October 2022. Everyone else who's a senior, you will be submitting that FAFSA right now. So make sure you complete that as soon as possible. Like I said, I encourage you to get that submitted by December 1st for graduation requirement, because I'm going to come track your child down. But and one thing I'll say this really quick, if you choose to complete the opt-out form, that is totally up to you. That does not mean that you can't fill out the FAFSA later. The FAFSA is really open all year round. We encourage students to get it done by the priority deadline because funds, honestly, they do run out. So we do want to get that in as soon as possible, but the FAFSA is open pretty much all year round. I think it does have a close date of June, but if you fill out the if you fill out the opt-out form for your graduation requirement, that's totally fine. You do have the opportunity to still complete the FAFSA. That is just telling me that you're just not going to complete it right now, and that's totally fine. I just want your student to graduate, to be honest. Alrighty, so I don't really see many other questions. I hope that means I did a good job. And sorry I don't have my camera on. I don't have an office space. I'm in my bedroom, so I'm sorry. But I think most of you guys know what I look like. But again, if you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I hope that you guys are getting the helpful information that you need, and I really do love supporting your students through this journey. I think it's extremely exciting, and it's such a joy that I get to serve them in this capacity. And really, I'm just, I'm roughing it with them, and I love it. So, so I'm going to go ahead and end this session. And again, email me with questions. This session's recorded, so I'll make sure I share it. And I just hope you all have a wonderful evening, and I look forward to working with you in the future.